Review of Weissmann's Liar's Kingdom, a great proposal for tweaks to U.S. law to stop empowering dictators. This is the first book to provide a seriously competent book on how to save or restore U.S. democracy by simple and reasonable repairs to United States law. Liar's Kingdom, How to Stop Trump's Deceit and Save America. Liar's Kingdom, How to Stop Trump's Deceit and Save America Kindle Edition by Weissmann Andrew. Download it once and www.amazon.com. However, Weissmann is not the first person who deeply understood that the cure to protecting democracy is curbing liars from lying divisively, or in Weissmann's terminology, from engaging in brazen political lies. The cure: extend the existing laws that make lying illegal in order to make it illegal for candidates for election and elected candidates in office to lie divisively. In Weissmann's own words, these are the three new laws he is proposing. Chapter 6, A Way Forward, pp. 133-5. Truth in Elections Act, T, and codify it as Section 1001A, which would put it numerically right after the existing false statement statute in Section 1001 of Title 18 of the United States Code. Anyone who knowingly and willfully makes any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representation about the election results or process in any federal election, with an intent to cast doubt on the integrity of the results or process, will have committed a civil offense for which disqualification from elected office may be imposed for up to 8 years. Our second law requires that, in every federal election, a candidate must periodically publicly certify to the Federal Election Committee that all factual assertions they have made, or caused to be made on their behalf during their campaign, are truthful. The certification must provide the FEC with the factual basis for those assertions. If the candidate cannot so certify any statement they've made on the campaign trail, then that candidate must withdraw the statement in an FEC filing so that the public and press would have knowledge of that factual withdrawal prior to an election. Further, no candidate would be eligible for office without making the required filings, and presidential candidates would be ineligible for federal matching funds without filing these certifications and would have to return any such funds. Finally, a third new federal law expands another existing U.S. law, Section 2383 of Title 18. That law renders people ineligible to hold office if they have been convicted of the crimes of insurrection or rebellion. To that existing law, our new law adds the underlined language: whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, or knowingly and intentionally violates 18 U.S.C. Section 1001A, the T, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. This new law adds criminal consequences, not simply debarment, for a violation of our hypothetical first law, the T. In other words, stop the brazen political lies in our political processes, or else, to summarize Weissmann's own words without all the legal hullabaloo, if you lie about elections, you cannot run for office for 8 years. If you lie during a campaign for your election, you must disclose the lie as a lie to the public, or else. And if you, as any citizen, engage in or give aid to insurrection or rebellion, you get fined, up to 10 years in prison, and forever disqualified from candidacy in any election. Nicely done, Weissmann. He deserves proper credit for perhaps the most promising suggestions on how to tweak existing U.S. law to stop divisive, brazen political lying among candidates for elections. I agree with him that this is the finest way possible to bring the USA out of the chaos of having turned into a liar's kingdom. But sadly, Weissmann did not give all the proper credit for his observations. Credit where credit is due. We should give Weissmann credit for understanding some of the recent legal history of both the observation that the cancer on our democracy is the liars, and the solution is to provide a cure to the cancer to save our democracy. Indeed, he explains how Brazil and others have successfully dealt with the same problem by tweaks to its laws, and how his solution was inspired by Brazil's actions. George Washington. The most glaring and astounding miss by Weissmann is that his observation that you have to rein in the liars to keep your democracy is the main theme of George Washington's farewell address in 1797 A.D., over 225 years ago. For most of the USA's 250-year history, Washington's farewell address was read in the early sessions of both the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate. House and Senate were reminded every year George Washington's dire warning not to engage in brazen political lying. Sadly, the U.S. House, and all those Reagan GOP congressmen running it, stopped the practice in 1984 AD. Another GOP decision to officially forget U.S. history and forge ahead for themselves with brazen political lying. To prove this and to read George Washington's main points, here is a free-to-read and distribute summary of his farewell address in his own words. George Washington's trump card. Washington's farewell address, short and sweet in his own words. Medium.com. We all should remember, all Americans who wish to vote, not just to run for office, should be politely asked to read George Washington's farewell address, or at least my summary in Washington's own words. Even Andrew Weissmann, if you prefer to watch it, read on YouTube. Here you go. Free, but you must give attribution to distribute, as with the Medium article. Sadly, too, George Washington missed the mark in that the very reason he wrote his farewell address was that he believed there was no laws that could prevent divisive brazen lying by candidates for office. He was wrong back then in a world with horses but no trains, candles but no electricity, printed pamphlets but no internet. Weissmann, and several years earlier I saw we could do some new laws to mitigate the fall into dictatorship that we have now permitted. I too recognized the cancer of divisive, brazen political lying, and I too proposed a solution to stop the brazen, divisive political lying. Here is the article I wrote. The Elected Official Liar Test, the Mendacology of Fixing Us. Medium.com. Here is a YouTube reading my article, which you can also freely distribute with attribution. The method I proposed was much simpler than Weissmann's methods. Any candidate for office, even for re-election, must appear on public live video to answer an hour of questions directed to make sure he has not lied. The law would state that if he lied, he would be guilty of perjury, and he would be banned from that candidacy and cannot run for office again. I think this is much better than all the non-public, secretive, non-transparent legal stuff that Weissmann proposes. It would be guaranteed great ratings for any video content provider to run, and would give everyone a chance to see their candidates telling the truth or getting into real serious legal trouble. Who am I? I am a computational cognitive neuroscientist that coined the term Mendacology for the computation cognitive, educational, and leadership science of human lying. We know that people do not learn by watching, they learn by doing. That is why I sponsor the Internet Court of Truth and Lies, where people can try out their thinking about truths and lies in the media with up to 8 jurors to see how other people are thinking about those supposed truths or lies. Here is the truthcourt.net trial from September 5, 2020 on my proposal, if you want to see what other people think about it, and how I presented my case for the truth of it. It's freely distributable with attribution.